For all ages. Hey, the mic's on. Good morning. Oh, I like that. Could you tell me that one more time? Good morning. Good morning. Oh, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you. I'm a new service associate. Thanks to Sylvia. Thank you. And welcome to the Auburn Unitarian Universalist Fellowship, located on occupied ancestral land of the Muskogee, thank you, Nation, and housed in a building constructed by free, formerly enslaved African Americans. My name is Pam Wiggins, and I am pleased to be your service associate today. And honestly, thank you, Sylvia, for inviting me up here. We welcome you. We come here for different reasons. Me, connection. That is my whole hope in life, is to connect, to find community, to seek spiritual and personal truths, to question, to nurture our hearts and our souls. You do that to me every Sunday. We hope you will find welcome, connection, challenge, and love here, and that we do, and I do. On behalf of the members of the fellowship, I extend a special welcome to all visitors who are joining us for the first time, and to those who still feel like visitors. Anybody out there who's a new person here? We're all veterans of this? All right, veterans, very good. If you haven't yet, please fill out our visitor book at the front of the church near the greeters, or you may do so digitally by visiting auuf.org/visitor. So glad to see Jim Newton at the back of the room. Hello, Jim. So glad you're back. To keep up with the activities of this community, check the AUUF website. By the way, that's changed. Who's doing that? It's awesome. I don't know, but it's amazing. Sign up for your email and watch for any announcements printed on the back of the order of service. We also gave brief spoken announcements at the end of the service, so please do come up and do that. Please turn your phone and other electronic devices to silent. Let us move into the service. Oh, it works. welcome Conrad Ross's daughter. I love the hat and the chair. Gosh, I hope I can hold myself together here. Yeah, just an amazing human. These words are by Tanya Marquez. Marquez? It is a wonder and a mystery that our paths have crossed. That in the immensity of time, in the vastness of space, we coincide here. I hear in awe of the ways in which our lives intersect and intertwine, at the beauty we create when we gather. You are gorgeous out there. May our coming together make us more compassionate, more just, more caring, and more loving. May our hearts and minds be open to this offering. I am so glad you are here. Let us worship, let us marvel at the miracle of being here right now and the mystery that has brought us together. Amen. Oh, we are lighting our chalice. That's me. We are lighting our chalice this morning with these words from UU minister, Reverend Pat. The chalice we light is a symbol of our faith. It binds us together as one people, a reminder that our strength is in our shared hope for the world and that our common work is the creation of beloved community among ourselves and in the world. We light this candle in solidarity. This is a new one for the DACA people, for the recipients after a judge again ruled that the program was illegal. Almost 600,000 young people are participants of DACA and came here as children. We hold space for our DACA children. As many of you, we do need a choir to perform, no?
No, we need the choir to come up on the stage to lead the hymn.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's number 16 in your hymnal. Stand as you are willing and able.
The choir.
It's a gift to be simple, it's a gift to be free, it's a gift to come down where we ought to be. And when we find ourselves in the place just right, we'll be in the valley of love and delight. When true simplicity is gained,
Hello everybody, I'm Sylvia. As many of you know, our dear Conrad Ross passed away this week. And we have put together, several people put together some wonderful photos and slides of Conrad for us to remember him by. So let us view these slides in silence and reflection as we remember Conrad Ross.
Conrad Ross. I honor him. We honor him. Amazing human. Okay, silent joys and concerns. One of the ways that we proclaim the warmth, and especially today, and caring of our community is by sharing our joys, concerns, and milestones. If you are joining us virtually, we invite you to type your joy, concern, and milestone on the YouTube chat box during the music for meditation. Andrew's playing. Lorna, to accompany you, Lorna Wood will be playing. We begin with silent joys and invite those here to, one at a time, drop a pebble into our communal bowl during the music for meditation. Thank you, Lorna. Spoken joys and concerns will be invited following the musical meditation by Lorna. And Lorna played at our yoga class last week. It was amazing. Such an amazing human. Going up and down those stairs, I mean, I'll probably lose it, so it's okay. It's all right here. If you have a brief joy, concern, or milestone that you'd like to share with the congregation, I invite you to come forward and briefly share it using the microphone. Please don't line up closely. Come forward after the last person has left the microphone. We'd love to hear from you.
I usually try to keep mine short and sweet to the point. However, today it's going to be a little long. I apologize, but I'll talk fast or slow down if you can't catch it. My concern is that when I come in here, either on Wednesday night or Sunday morning, there's always a light left on. I don't know who's doing it. I don't care. Please turn the lights off. There is a dimmer switch for the stage light, so if you just push it down, it ain't off. Please turn it off. The second thing is, one of my customers gave me this beautiful necklace that he made. He also gave me a bracelet, which was too big, so he's fixing it. He runs a rock shop, so I'm touched by how love to him by my customer. This is called a shofar. This is a ram's horn. Plug your ears. That calls in the new year, which on the Jewish calendar is 5784. We're all behind the times. But the joke goes that if the Jews have been around for that long, the Chinese calendar is much younger, so for however many years that happened, Jews had no place to eat on Christmas Day.
happy that Catherine brought Conrad's spirit here to sit next to me, because Conrad and Janice used to sit in the second row right behind me for many, many years. And then Conrad, in the past few years, has been sitting on the front row, so it's very nice to have him here in his spirit. Thank you.
I am Catherine Ross, Conrad's daughter, eldest daughter, and it is not a concern, it is a joy. She loved you all very much, and so do we. Thank you for being such an important part of our life. I'm Stephanie, Camilla Herschel's daughter, and I have a joy to share with you, which is that hospice nurse last Monday said, oxygen saturation is a little low. I'm going to bring in a machine to give her a little extra oxygen. About 2 days later, she was much brighter, much more animated, much more with it. So I want you to know that she's comfortable, she loves visitors, she's happy, and she's definitely communicative. So any of you who have the opportunity, come to Azalea Place. Sign at the front desk. She's in room 102. You don't have to make an appointment. She'd love to have you drop in for 10 minutes or however long. It was wonderful. It was a blessing to have her right across the hall from Conrad. But since she moved in, she felt at home. She felt there was somebody there who was family there with her. Thank you. Oh, thank you.
Okay. All right, the light of our chalice would soon flicker and die without oil that nourishes its flame. Just as its flame cannot burn without oil, this religious community cannot survive or thrive without the personal and financial support of its members and friends. That fuels the shared mission and ministry of the Auburn UU Fellowship. To make a donation online via PayPal, please visit auuf.org. Donate. Please indicate in the notes whether your donation is for your pledge or the offering. Rona, you're playing again? That's wonderful.
Do you have more to say?
No. Oh, I just didn't want to go down again, but I guess I should. Thank you, Lorna. That was rollicking good, wasn't it? Okay, so now I have, who does this? Who does this service associate thing? I've now lost my place. So, who can hit me up here? Oh, thank you so much. Oh, she's gonna give me a chair. Oh my God. Okay, I have lost. I'm lost. I'm literally lost. Okay, we're going to the moment of all ages, right? So you can begin coming up and I'll tell you who's doing it. Here's 5. Here it is. All right, thanks everyone. So sorry, I'm so confused. Moment for all ages, but what's extraordinary is there are 3 people involved here. Emily Graff, Eric Scotch, and Chris Baskier. Chris Baskier.
Hi, this is going to be I want to take a moment to apologize to Sylvia. This is not Constitution related. I'm really looking forward to your thing. This is a special Sunday, and I wanted to make it as special as possible because for our friend and our CRE, Angela, this is Angela Farmer. This is her last RE service with us. So instead of her reading her wonderful moment for all ages that she does every week after week and does beautifully, we're going to have the kids read one to her. So Alice has been practicing. I want to give a warning for those who've not read Charlotte's Web. I'm sorry, this is a spoiler. But it is a beautiful story, and it's about the chapter that we've selected and abridged is called The Last Day. So, all right, I'm going to put this on Alice. I'm going to hold it for you guys while you read, okay? All right. And then please hold on afterwards. We're going to have a little presentation for Angela. All right, yes.
Charlotte's Web by E.E. White. Pictures by Garth Williams. Watercolors of Garth Williams' artwork by Rosemary Wells. Charlotte and Wilbur were alone. The families had gone to look for Fern. Templeton was asleep. Wilbur lay resting after the excitement and the strain of the ceremony. His medal still hung from his neck. By looking out in the corner of his eye, he could see it. "Charlotte," said Wilbur after a while, "why are you so quiet?" "I like to sit still," she said. "I've always been rather quiet." "Yes, but you seem especially so today. Do you feel all right?" "A little tired, perhaps, but I feel peaceful. Your success in the ring this morning was, to a small degree, my success. Your future is assured. You will live secure and safe, Wilbur. Nothing can harm you now. These autumn days will shorten and grow cold. The leaves will shake loose from the trees and fall. Christmas will come in the snows of winter. You will live to enjoy the beauty of the frozen world. For you mean a great deal to Zuckerman, and he will not harm you ever. Winter will pass and the days will lengthen. The ice will melt in the pasture pond. The song sparrow will return and sing. The frogs will awake, and the warm wind will blow again. All these sights and sounds and smells will be yours to enjoy, Wilbur. This lovely world, these precious days. Charlotte stopped. A moment later, a tear came to Wilbur's eye. "Oh, Charlotte," he said, "to think that when I first met you, I thought you were cruel and bloodthirsty." When he recovered from his emotion, he spoke again. "Why did you do all this for me?" he asked. "I don't deserve it. I've never done anything for you." "You've been my friend," replied Charlotte. "That itself is a tremendous thing. I've wove my webs for you because I liked you. After all, what's a life anyway? We're born, we live a little while, we die. A spider's life can't help but bring something of a mess, with all this trapping and eating flies. By helping you, perhaps, I was able to lift up my life a trifle. Heaven knows anyone's life can stand a little of that." "Well," said Wilbur, "I'm no good at making speeches, but I haven't got a gift for words. But you've saved me, Charlotte, and I would gladly give my life for you. I really would." "I'm sure you would, and I thank you for your generous sentiments." "Charlotte," said Wilbur, "we're all going home today. The fair's almost over. Won't it be wonderful to get back home in the barn and cellar again with the sheep and the geese? Aren't you anxious to get home?" For a moment, Charlotte said nothing. Then she spoke in a voice so low, Wilbur could hardly hear the words. I will not be going back to the barn, she said. Wilbur leapt to his feet. Not going back, he cried. Charlotte, what are you talking about? I'm done for, she replied. In a day or two, I'll be dead. I haven't had the strength to climb down into the crate. I doubt that I'll have enough silk in my spinnerets to lower me to the ground. Hearing this, Wilbur threw himself in agony of pain and sorrow. Great sobs racked his body. He heaved and grunted with desolation. Charlotte, no, Charlotte, my true friend. Come now, it's not like a scene, said the spider. Be quiet, Wilbur. Stop thrashing around. But I can't stand it, shouted Wilbur. I won't leave you here alone to die. If you're going to stay here, I shall stay too. Don't be ridiculous, said Charlotte. You can't stay here. Zuckerman and Zuli and John Arable and the others will be back any minute now, and they'll shove you inside that crate and away you'll go. Besides, it won't make sense for you to stay. There would be no one to feed you. The fairgrounds will soon be empty and deserted. Wilbur was in a panic. He raced around and around the pen. Suddenly he had an idea. He thought of the egg sack and the 514 little spiders that would hatch in spring. If Charlotte herself was unable to go home to the barn, at least he must take her children along. Wilbur rushed in front of his pen, put his front feet up on the top board, and gazed around. In the distance, he saw the Arbles and the Zuckermans approaching. He knew he'd have to act quickly. Where's Templeton? He demanded. He's in that corner under the straw asleep, said Charlotte. Wilbur rushed over, pushed his strong snout under the rat, and tossed him into the air. Templeton, screamed Wilbur, pay attention. The rat, surprised out of sound sleep, looked first dazed, then disgusted. What kind of monkey shine is this? He growled. Can't a rat catch a wink of sleep without being rudely popped into the air? Listen to me, cried Wilbur. Charlotte is very ill. Wilbur was desperate. The people were coming, and the rat was failing him. Suddenly, he remembered Templeton's fondness for food. Templeton, he said, I will make a solemn promise. Get Charlotte's egg sack for me. From now on, I will let you eat first. When Willoughby slops me, I will let you have your choice of everything in the trough. And I won't touch a thing until you're through. The rat sat up. You mean that? He said. I promise. I cross my heart. All right, it's a deal, said the rat. He walked to the wall and started to climb. His stomach was still swollen from last night's gorge. Grunting and complaining, he pulled himself slowly to the ceiling. He crept along until he reached the egg sack. Charlotte moved aside for him. She was dying, but she still had enough strength to move a little. Then Templeton bared his long, ugly teeth and began snipping the threads that fastened the egg sack to the ceiling. Wilbur watched from below. Use extreme care, he said. I don't want a single one of those eggs harmed. Get the sticks to my mouth, complained the rat. It's worse than caramel candy. But Templeton worked away at the job and managed to cut the sack adrift and carry it to the ground, where he dropped it in front of Wilbur. Wilbur heaved a great sigh of relief. Thank you, Templeton, he said. I will never forget this as long as I live. Neither will I, said the rat, picking his teeth. I feel though I've been eaten with a spool of thread. Well, when we go. Templeton crept into the crate and buried himself in the straw. He got out of sight just in time as Willoughby and John Arable and Mr. Zuckerman came along at that moment, followed by Miss Arable and Miss Zuckerman, and Avery and Fern. Wilbur had already decided how he would carry the egg sack. There was only one way possible. He carefully took the little bundle in his mouth and held it there on top of his tongue. He remembered what Charlotte had told him, that the sack was waterproof and strong. It felt funny on his tongue. It made him drool a bit. And of course, he couldn't say anything, but as being shoved into the crate, he looked up at Charlotte and gave her a wink. She knew that he was saying goodbye in the only way he could, and she knew that her children were safe. And so Wilbur came home to his beloved manure pile in the barn cellar. His was a strange homecoming around his neck, and he wore a medal ring on his arm. In his mouth, he held a sack of spider's eggs. There was no place like home, Wilbur thought, as he placed Charlotte's 514 unborn children carefully in a safe corner. The barn smelled good. His friends, the sheep, and the geese were glad to see him back. The end.
Oh.
I could get some help. Owen, could you help me out? And maybe Arthur or Lachlan or maybe there's something over there. Angela, if you would come up stage, we'd like to bring you some gifts. Sorry. Owen, can you grab the fossils for us? Thank you, ladies. Kids, you just want to come up, those that can, want to come upstairs on stage, and we'd like to thank Angela so much for, I'm going to stand on this side so I get less feedback, for 2.5 years of service as our CRE, helping our program sustain itself through the pandemic and through some very tough times. And so we'd like to present you a collection of images and photos. Sorry, Chris. A collection of images and photos that the kids have taken and that parents and others pulled together. And all of the parents came together to also get you this lovely flower filled with flowers and bring it on over, Owen. And gift cards to local places, including craft stores, flower shops, coffee shops, and some notes from some of the kids. Thank you. Wanted to thank you so much. I think it should be. Have anything they'd like to say to Angela, I'm sure I'll talk to you more later, but I wanted to give an opportunity to those who've worked with her to share a few words.
I just want to say thank you so much for all the love and care you've given to the girls. It's completely yours.
There's like a dedicated tissue box for Moments for All Ages for now. Instead of precedents.
Angela, I just really appreciate your leadership as an RE leader. You've taught me so much, and I look forward to staying connected with you. I am so afraid of using this thing because it always throughout. My kids are not here today because they skipped soccer games and everything yesterday because they're not feeling well. I wanted to say thank you on behalf of our family, on behalf of the congregation, on behalf of my kids, for sticking through what has been a very unique time and supporting us and being there for us, and continuing to help this community from outside the fellowship in all the ways that you do. So thank you. It's been an honor to get to know you, and I hope that it doesn't end here with your adventure with us at this fellowship.
All right, I think it's time to say Angela and us. Can I say goodbye? Oh my gosh, yes, I'm so sorry. Sorry, my brain is short-circuited.
Thank you all. Thank you all. I love you all. I've loved your children well. And you haven't seen the last of me, so.
I'm gonna take my tissue and go. May your hearts be open to learning. May your words bring truth into the world. May your hearts know love and your hands just as you go your way in peace. As you go your way in peace. As you go your way.
Very well read story. Books of all time, Charles Webb, and then there was a great movie. I don't know if you remember. It was several years ago. It was a cartoon. Did you like watch that movie? It was so sweet. Also, today we're going to talk about the Constitution and amendments a little bit. Today is the commemoration of the writing of the U.S. Constitution. 236 years ago, in 1787, the Constitutional Committee signed the document in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It replaced the Articles of Confederation, which had been signed in 1777. I had forgotten about the Articles of Confederation when I was doing it. I was like, oh yeah, the Articles of Confederation. People just don't talk about them so much directly, although they still, like those notions are still very much talked about now. Because of the passage of time, it had been 10 years, weaknesses in the Article of Confederation, which was a loose confederation of states with a very weak central government. And so it became apparent that Congress had little respect, maybe not in one now, but for different reasons, and no support from state governments anxious to maintain their power. One of the biggest problems was the United States government had borrowed tons of money, large sums of money at that time. It was probably like $2 million, which would be like trivial nowadays, right? But they owed huge debts to European countries and couldn't raise the funds because they didn't have the power to do so. So this was going to be a huge problem, maybe even demise of the whole country. And there were other problems: couldn't regulate trade, couldn't conduct foreign policy. Each state had their own kind of money. I mean, it was a lot of little bitty republics almost in one. And so they got together in the May of 1787 and they said, you know what, we're going to sit in here and write this doggone Constitution until we get it right. And they did. And it took all summer, and there was probably a lot of cussing and storming out and arguing, and there might have been crying, but they probably didn't cry in front of each other. And there were those who wanted a strong federal government, and those were the Federalists. You probably remember from all your American history days, and the ones that didn't, and those were ones more likely to have like an Articles of Confederation, the anti-Federalist. There were debates about slavery, how people would be represented, how presidents would be elected, but at the end of the writing of the document, no one was very pleased with how it came out. But they decided that it was probably the best it was ever going to be, and that was the Constitution of the United States. In fact, of the 55 people in the committee, only 39 wanted to sign it in the first place. So there were a lot of disgruntled people after that. But afterward, it was ultimately ratified by the 13 states. But not even 4 years later, they added the Bill of Rights, because they actually acknowledged in the first thing, but this is what we've got right now, and we're going to work with it, but we got to do these other things, which was the first 10 amendments. So within a very short time, they'd already amended it. The Bill of Rights was basically enumerating many of the freedoms that the Constitution protects. And so since 1791, 17 additional amendments have been ratified for a total of 27. And there were 6 that were never ratified. One of them was to not interfere in states regarding slavery. That one didn't get ratified. Probably a really good idea. Another one was, in 1920s, was regulating child labor. They wanted to regulate child labor of children under 18. That did not pass. Mainly probably because a lot of farming at that time and labor was done by, a lot of children. But at its core, the Constitution's aim is to empower people to make decisions about their own lives, as opposed to having their lives in the grip of some kind of monarch or a dictator. From the onset, it established government of the people, by the people, and for the people. So it's supposed to protect the individual rights of everyone. Now, we can also note that it didn't protect rights of women, it didn't prohibit slavery, it didn't do a lot of things. So certainly, it was an imperfect document. But for the most part, the purpose was to check abuse of power by the majority, and that's a constant theme throughout the Constitution, to constrain majoritarian power. So, I swear, the history lesson is going to be over soon, I swear. So to paraphrase Winston Churchill, he said, our Constitution, talking about our Constitution, is the worst form of government, except for all the others that have ever been tried. So after the Constitution was adopted, and they had the Bill of Rights, which, they talked about the right to speak an opinion without fear of retribution, the right to own guns in defense of self and country, the right to worship a god or no god at all if you don't want to. And all afterward, decade after decade, we've continued to amend the Bill of Rights. We prohibited liquor, we repealed it, all kinds of things. So if you're looking for faults and imperfections, aren't hard to find. But they're still, the writers of the Constitution are worth celebrating. Not because they didn't abolish slavery, or they didn't end mistreatment of Native Americans, and they didn't extend rights to men and women, but because they established a framework that would eventually allow us to champion these things. And so, that's the end of the lecture, I swear. So, I was thinking about what amendments, what do we need now? Do we need another amendment? And I started thinking about the right to privacy. There is no explicit right of privacy in the Constitution or in any of the amendments. There's several amendments that sort of deal with privacy. For instance, we have the privacy of beliefs, religious freedom, which is the First Amendment. We have the privacy of home, person, and possessions, which is Amendments 3 and 4. For instance, the government can't quarter soldiers in our houses, which we think that's really weird. But in those days, they did that all the time. You have soldiers living in your house, no choice. No state shall deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without the due purpose of law. That's the 14th Amendment. And then the 9th Amendment, which is, I think, probably one of the most interesting and vague amendments that's probably ever been written. It states that U.S. citizens have rights beyond what is enumerated, and they can't be denied. So they even said, there's other rights that we don't even know about that you have, and you can't take those away either. And so I was thinking, well, what has that got to do with all kinds of things that we deal with today? When Roe v. Wade was passed in 1973, the Supreme Court said it was unconstitutional to prohibit abortion, and they based it partly on the 14th Amendment, which was no state shall deprive a person of life, liberty, or property without due purpose of law. Of course, this ruling has been reversed, and abortion is not considered a constitutional right, and it is now decided by the states. And we have this horrible mismatched quilt of states that some allow, some others when it's almost completely disallowed, even if somebody's life is at stake. Women have lost what was once considered a constitutional right, the right to control over our own bodies. So this is concerning. And I think it has a lot to do with privacy. We have the right to have autonomy, the privacy of ourselves. But apparently some of us don't. What other kinds of privacy are concerning? In these modern times, technology has evolved so much that the privacy of our personal data, which has to do with medical data, where we live, where we are right now, our phones are all tracking us even as we speak. Privacy from surveillance. I think that's something we're talking about. And we're talking about surveillance like our own government surveilling us, which we know it does. And we know about collection of data from companies, from corporations that use our data to make money. And even something even maybe milder, like targeted advertising. They're using our data to figure out, to want us to, like what kind of pants are you gonna buy? So you might think, well, that's maybe not a big deal. Maybe it's great because it's helping me decide what kind of pants I want to buy. And that's great and all. But happy for you. You're free to buy whatever kind of pants you want, right? But on the other hand, they're using your search data and websites that you're looking at to make these designations. Did we give it away because we happen to be going to those websites? I don't think so. I think the very fact that you go to Coldwater Creek and want to look at pants does not in fact mean that they get to scrape out all my data related to other things as well besides my preference for pants. So a lot of this, like I said before, it's related to technology. Countries of the world instead of thinking about technology that could maybe help feed more people or things of that nature, they chose to focus on facial recognition, tracking of communication, tracking of human personal data for monetary gain, and all kinds of other nefarious purposes. Figuring out who lives in what house, when you're gonna send a missile over there, all those kinds of things. So, do we need, that's my question to us all, is do we need some kind of amendment that protects us? I don't know, what are we gonna call it? Privacy of thought? Privacy to protect your personal data? I'm not quite sure what this amendment would be. How is it going to be spelled out? So I'm curious, what do you all think? Have you been concerned about how much of our personal data is being used for who knows what? Does that bother you? I think it bothers me a bit. Is our data protected by the Constitution? Is it just like our homes and possessions are protected by the Constitution? You can't take away somebody's house unless you go through due process of law. You can't break into somebody's house because you think they might be a criminal. Are we now, what do you think? I'm turning it over to the group. Does anybody have any thoughts about that? Do we need a different kind of amendment? Is it the amendments that we can use, the ones we currently exist? I don't know. Go ahead. Maybe come up to the. Is this on? I think so. Okay.
I think turn it on.
Nope, it's not on. Sorry.
There you go. Was it on? Is it on? Okay, there we go. Okay, well, I was just going to say with AI, we need to be really concerned about our images and our voices, because that has a lot of repercussions, not just for us personally, but for misinformation and propaganda, all kinds of things, and that is related to privacy. Obviously, it's your personal data, very personal data. So that's something I've been thinking about.
I think Gerald needs to speak.
I don't know.
Expert.
Not by far.
Yeah, and I think Sean's coming up here, but while he's coming up here, there were court cases that talked about privacy in our homes. Where according to court cases, we're allowed to have pornography in our homes. Married couples are allowed to use contraception legally. At least we still are. So, how does this all relate to that?
My concern, or maybe it's not a concern so much as just a thought, is that by the time we pass a law to address the problem, technology will have passed us up. There'll be time to pass another law. And by the time we pass that law, technology will pass us up again. So it's like we can never catch up. That's what I'm afraid might happen.
And that's a really good point. And I think one of the great things about the amendments is that they're suitably broad: life, liberty, and justice, or life, liberty, and happiness. But the question, I think a lot of times, actually, because Sean got me thinking about that, is who's interpreting it? And currently the Supreme Court, some of them like to interpret things very narrowly, and other people like to interpret things very broadly. And I think that Ninth Amendment, let me go back and find that Ninth Amendment, is the one that said basically there are rights that haven't been enumerated, but you can't deny those rights. So I think that's kind of a catch-all, but are people thinking about it that way? So I don't know.
So another amendment that I think we need, and it maybe prior to this one, but it kind of intersects with it, is public funding of elections. Ever since the Citizen United decision, it has contributed directly to the virulent politics that we've seen over the last decade plus. And in combination with all the data scraping, et cetera, that political actors can target people who may be leaning in one direction or another, and then push them further in that direction. and get them to vote for Trump or that sort of thing. So I think both of those things would help a lot in kind of bringing us back to some more sane kind of politics.
Good point.
Well, I'm worried that we might need some kind of amendment to try to enshrine the right to vote. There's so many attempts now to take away people's right to vote, to say that they're not eligible. They want the right people to vote, and that doesn't mean everybody. Also, I think getting rid of the Electoral College would be a very good idea.
And something Chris said that also made me think about is when we think about the data that can be used, our own data being used against us is, they talked about in 2020, or rather, again in 2016, Facebook and other things pushing with bots and different anonymous accounts, making up things and pushing people to do certain things. So that I think, that goes to privacy of thought. We need to be able to know that the decisions we make are our own decisions, and we haven't been confounded by some kind of corporations that are being paid to sway people one way or another. So does anybody else have anything they'd like to add? So when I was putting this together, I just started thinking about that, and so I went down this whole privacy rabbit hole, and that's kind of where all this all went. I was curious what you all thought, and you had some great ideas. As it turns out, Bill of Rights Day is December 15th, 2023, which is on Friday. So maybe we can think about this, and we can take it up again, and think about some of these things that people have talked about, and we can go forward. We can write some people, we can make some suggestions, and those sorts of things. Does that sound like a good date? We'll meet up again December 15th to Friday, so on Sunday, December 17th, we'll meet back here, we'll talk about the Bill of Rights, we'll talk about amendments, and we'll come up with something. Maybe we can move it forward in some way. Does that work for everybody? All right. Does anybody else have any other comments they'd like to add? So now I'm going to ask you all to please join me in extinguishing our chalice. Oh, we got one more hymn. We got one more hymn. One more step, it's called, in fact. Choir, please. Now, if you could, please join me in extinguishing our chalice. You will find the words in your order of service. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we're together again. So please be our guest today. After the service, we've got Pinwheels for Peace, we've got coffee hour. We're doing the talking about the budget. So lots of things going on. This is an opportunity to chat with people about the service, just how their week went. All are welcome to join. If you've not signed up for our email list, please make sure you do so to receive updates. You can find information about signing up on our website. I invite anyone with a brief spoken announcement to come forward at this time.
This Saturday, there's an indoor vendor-style yard sale. I need everyone to take at least one of these little flyers and pass it to someone they know who likes to go to yard sales. Because we want to raise money, and all the vendors would like to raise some money. So, yeah, we got stuff. There'll be plenty of stuff. We got lots of stuff. So please, do take any one of these. Take several of them. Just share, put it out on your, I'll send it to the listserv, and then you can send it to anyone you know. Thank you.
Following up on Sylvia's mention of Pinwheels for Peace, our you folks will be setting up tables for us to participate in how many decades has it been of Pinwheels for Peace. There'll be directions, there'll be materials, and the actual International Day of Peace is the 21st, but the pinwheels are being made today and put out today. Right after the service.
Yay.
As Sylvia mentioned, mumbled something about budgets, putting money after the other, I don't know. I'll be available somewhere, wherever I am, that's where I am. And we'll talk about, if you have questions about the budget for next year, and you ask yourself, why would I have questions about the budget and why would I care? It's that next week, after the service, we're having I pray, brief, what we call around here a business meeting, which really is a terrible name. We gotta get rid of that. But anyway, it's a business meeting in which we'll formally adopt, we hope, the budget for the year that we're actually in, because it got sort of blasted to pieces last May. You don't want to vote on something, well, maybe you do, I don't know. It's something you don't understand. But anyway, the budget is not a user-friendly, when you look at it on a piece of paper. So if you have questions, I'll be available and I hope I can answer the questions.
Next week, it's Sunday.
Sub-Sunday?
Sub-Sunday. You might want to know. What is Sub-Sunday?
What is Sub-Sunday?
Sub-Sunday is going to be our new reinvigoration of our recruitment to committee day. So we know that Ari has their Sunday where they get to get ice cream and put different toppings on. Well, we're going to do something a little bit different this time. We're going to have tables set out with all the committee chairs or representatives recruiting you. And then we're going to have a table with fixings to make your own subs. So we'll have vegetarian stuff and vegan stuff and
meatitarian.
So if you sign up for a committee, you get a ticket to get a sub?
Well, no, you get you go and you get your bottom part, and then you get go to another committee, you get another part. You better go to the committee. So anyway, we hope to make it a lot of fun, so you know how this place works, and that we don't just come in here and sit and see a great program. that a lot of people put a lot of work into it. You think they have a lot of fun. I think Pam had a lot of fun today.
Always, thank you.
I think a little bit about Baptist revival.
That's right.
And it's going, and we're stopping.
Those are my roots.
Okay, so anyway, please come next week to be educated and to sign the different committees, because we all need you. Thanks.
Thank you. And I'd like to also thank Pam for being a service associate. It's her first time. Yay. Martha for wonderful piano playing in the choir. Thank you very much. Zinda, who we always forget about, who does all the work getting the program out. And Lorna, oh my gosh, thank you. So let's go ahead and join in our son's benediction. Briefly, our closing words are by Emily Richards. Our work here today is at an end, and our work has just begun. The work of holding one another in this community in love, the work of trusting that we are on the right path, the work of believing that what connects us is stronger than what separates us. And remember, December 15th, Bill of Rights, Bill of Rights, September 17th, we'll be back here to talk about more amendments that we need. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. I am so sorry I fouled up. I look forward to